we think of the Olympic Games, our minds usually go to major, big cities that have hosted the prestigious event: Tokyo, Los Angeles, and Paris. The latest Olympics were held in Paris, France, and it was a huge success. These famous cities spent years preparing for the event, with governments investing heavily in infrastructure in hopes of seeing a return on their efforts. In Cairo City, the Olympic City is in progress. The construction started in 2018, although it hasn't been completed yet. The area will be a sprawling complex of world-class sports facilities spanning for at least 468 acres. The question is, why did the country build this city when the Olympics aren't even on the horizon? To answer this loaded question, we need to study Egypt's goals, its challenges, and the broader international trend of building grand projects for reasons that are beyond their immediate purpose. First, let me give you a background. Egypt has a population of more than 100 million people, with a rich culture that stretches back thousands of years. Its pyramids and temples are major parts of its history, but its modern infrastructure is struggling to meet the social demands of its rapidly growing population. Recently, the government, under leader Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, has launched multiple infrastructure projects to transform the country's image in an attempt to stimulate economic growth. The new administrative capital is the crown jewel of this dream, a planned city designed to reduce Cairo's congestion and present a better reputation to the world. Within this growing urban district lies the Olympic City, within which will feature a 92,000-seat stadium, auditoriums, training facilities, and even residential zones for athletes. That said, it's important to note that the Olympic City isn't just being built to host potential Olympic Games in the future. Instead, it will also serve a lot of purposes, such as being a training center for athletes, a venue for regional competitions, and a statement to the world that Egypt is ready to widen its influence in the world of sports and more. What Egypt is seeing is that they can use people's love for sports as a way to accumulate power slowly but surely. When they become well-equipped to host international tournaments or even just have training camps, this can bring in attention, status, and even investment. The status will improve Egypt's global image, and the investments will usher in more opportunities for Egyptians. Pretty clever, right? The reality is that other countries like Qatar and UAE have already successfully demonstrated how leveraging sports as an economic strategy is effective in elevating a nation's status on the world stage. By hosting major sports events like the World Cup and Formula One races, these territories not only attracted global attention but also initiated investments in local tourism. They've turned sports into more than just games. The governments used it as a platform to expand their economic and cultural dominance. So, by constructing the Olympic City, Egypt is gearing itself up to become a regional sports center as well. Their goal is to be able to host everything from the African Cup of Nations to championships and lesser-known sports. Will they be able to do it? Only time will tell. Apart from that, the timing aligns with Egypt's broader development objectives. If you haven't heard, the Egyptian government is already pouring a lot of money into infrastructure for the new administrative capital, so now we can say that the Olympic City is just a part of a much larger puzzle. Before we dive deeper, let's zoom out for a second. Egypt's Olympic City isn't a unique ambition. Earlier, I've told you about how UAE and Qatar have done the same thing. Other big nations have done this too, like China and Saudi Arabia. Around the globe, administrations have built so many massive, groundbreaking architectural projects to display some kind of political force. Just think of Dubai's Palm Jumeirah and China's ghost cities for a second. These ventures, more often than not, serve as symbols, tangible proof of the nation's visions. For Egypt, the Olympic City is an assertion. They're telling the world that they're not just a country of ancient wonders, they're also capable of keeping up with other countries in terms of innovation. Let's answer the important question that's already probably lingering in your mind. Can Egypt host the Olympic Games in the future? In theory, absolutely. The Olympic City will be more than capable of providing the facilities needed to host the competitions. Despite that, we also have to remember that the Olympics are more than just about sports facilities. A country that will serve as its host will have to spend massively in transportation, accommodations, and security. It will require the kind of political and economic influence that, sadly, Egypt still does not have. For one, the International Olympic Committee is looking for nations with robust economies and good political environments. The economy of Egypt has the potential to grow more, but it's still facing huge problems when it comes to inflation and unemployment. Besides, its political climate has been criticized because of its issues related to human rights abuses, so this could be a major concern for the IOC. Moving forward, it's common sense that building something as grand as the Olympic City isn't cheap. Critics argue that instead of trying to be overly ambitious, Egypt should have spent their money on sectors that needed to be prioritized more, such as healthcare, education, or housing. On the flip side, those who support the project defend it, saying that this kind of investment can have long-term economic benefits. The Olympic City could inspire a new generation of Egyptian athletes. The success of these athletes could attract foreign attention in sports-related sectors such as equipment manufacturing, sponsorships, and sports tech development. In this point of view, the project becomes less of a gamble and more of a calculated risk. The hard truth is there are strong points on both sides, so only time will tell if this gamble turns into a win. Over the years, despite Egypt's economic challenges, the African country has kept its prominent place on the global tourism map, having attracted millions of visitors each year due to its famous history and iconic tourist spots. The Pyramid of Giza, which is one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, continue to attract tourists from around the world. Beyond the pyramids, Egypt is full of temples, notable tombs, and artifacts. The Nile River offers scenic cruises, and destinations like Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada have beautiful beaches and world-class diving sites. The country's unique combination of heritage, practices, and natural beauty make it an extraordinary destination for travelers. If Egypt were to host the future Olympic Games, the athletes would be having fun visiting these tourist spots, thereby exposing Egypt's national treasures. Nonetheless, just like any other country, Egypt faces its own fair share of challenges, including concerns about safety, social instability, and infrastructure. Despite efforts to boost security and improve visitor experiences, some tourists remain hesitant to come due to the region's history of violence. Some potential Olympians may feel uneasy about participating, so the lingering perception of instability could impact the athletes' decision to compete in the country. To mitigate these issues, Egypt is working towards improving its reputation, focusing on tourism and better amenities. Luckily, Egypt's beauty as a country remains strong for those seeking to experience a place where the ancient and modern worlds join together. For Egypt, maintaining such a massive complex like the Olympic City can pose other issues as well. For one, it requires substantial resources, and the government must guarantee that the sports facilities remain well-maintained and don't deteriorate over time despite use. This means investing in regular maintenance and ensuring that the infrastructure stays functional and modern. For Egypt, the Olympic City is undeniably a bold move, a reflection of its desire to reclaim a place in this competitive world. It's a story of hope, risk, and a dream that's larger than life itself. While we don't know yet if Egypt will ever host the Olympic Games, one thing is clear: this project isn't just a sports complex, it's a symbol of a nation daring to dream big. If you liked this video, make sure to watch other videos from the channel.